What shatters a well-protected armored convoy, even without air power? A three-layer kill chain that starts with a Peoria UAV and ends with FPV drones punching out command nodes. In this video, we'll track the clock. Rockets at 20 to 30 meters, directional mines to force mistakes, then FPVs to finish the job. Watch how the Shakov corridor collapses, the Dorelia route is cut, and artillery output drops within 48 hours. Because timing, not tonnage, wins this fight. The defenders missed it because the threat didn't look like a threat. 9 kilometers out, a Peoria UAV orbited quietly, its FLIR pulling details the convoy couldn't see. Engine temps, axle loads, and the steady glow of electronics. The feed moved through an encrypted pipe to artillery control already briefed on the lane ahead. That stretch had a label, high-risk corridor. It wasn't a guess, it was a prediction. Engineers and recon had walked it, measured sight lines, and built a fire plan around how vehicles behave when forced. From above, the march looked textbook, 40 kilometers an hour, staggered spacing, tanks guarding the front and rear. But on a thermal screen, the routine became a map of roles. The command nodes shone steady. The ammo and fuel bled heat in pulses. Each vehicle's place and pace turned into entries on a target list. The UAV crew marked every crossing of fixed points. The clock itself became part of the trap. The data handshake made it lethal. Coordinates pushed from the drone to fire control. Grid squares updated every few seconds. Electronic warfare screens probed radio traffic for tempo pauses, net switches, and calls that hinted at orders moving through the column. Fire missions were pre-synced, so gunners didn't wait for debate. They waited for a timestamp. The convoy's spine carried its weakness. 2 BRM-1K command vehicles sat mid-pack, Urals stacked with 122mm rounds, and Kamaz fuelers kept pace beside them, bunched for protection but easy to rate by heat and movement. An MTLB tow and repair teams lagged at the tail, out of position to save anything under fire. Tanks, T-72B3s, bookended the column. BMP-2s and BMP-3s filled the gaps. It looked balanced. It wasn't. It was betrayed by its predictability. Integrated sensing compressed the kill chain. Find, fix, finish. Rehearsed triggers shaved latency to seconds. The lead T-72B3 edged into a pre-marked opening in the trees. Range stabilized, bearing held. Artillery teams matched their timers to the march interval, not the terrain. This trap relied on rhythm, not luck. Before any launch command, priorities were set by heat signatures, function, and expected blast spread. Command first, ammo next, mobility after. Then the cue landed. Start the clock. The first rounds would burst in the air, not just to wound, but to blind, jam the gaps, and make drivers choose wrong. Rockets that burst overhead don't aim for armor belts. They hunt what makes crews see and talk. The first M270 Ripple lands as the lead elements nose into the clearing, and the convoy's center packs tight enough to matter. Fuse settings pop at roughly 20 to 30 meters above the target, fragments raking downward in a dense cone. The opening blast tears through antennas and periscopes. You hear the thud, then the hiss of spall inside thin skins. ABMP-2's turret ring locks hard, its gun slews and sticks. ABMP-3 kicks a track off a road wheel and lurches sideways. One T-72B3 jerks left as the driver overcorrects under shock, throwing the column's rhythm. Crews crack hatches to clear smoke and catch grit and glass. Drivers stab brakes late. In under 40 seconds, the neat spacing unravels into gaps and bunches that mean nothing to doctrine and everything to a fire plan.
Airbursts at that height matter because the fragmentation pattern bites downward into vision blocks, panoramic sights, commander's optics, and the fragile forest of external comms gear. The armor plates do their job against lateral hits, but these shards come from above and punch into sensors, wires, and loaders' hatches. Even if armor survives, the vehicle loses eyes and voice. That blindness is the goal. The command ripple follows. The BRM-1K's net stutters, packets drop, calls repeat, and time stretches. The forward elements start reacting to threats they can't place. False contacts, dust, and echoes. The center waits for orders that arrive late or not at all. The rear can't see either end and starts to hedge. Soft-skinned support trucks pay fastest. Shrapnel bites tires. Fuel lines weep. Mirror mounts and light clusters shatter. Recovery vehicles sit behind stalled steel and can't break through to help. Now the trap narrows.
Vehicles swing off the road to avoid the smoking BMP and stumble into lanes engineers marked weeks earlier. Others stop short, then creep, then halt again, stacking into two predictable choke points. In 2 minutes, the convoy stops fighting and starts surviving. The fires shift from breaking formation to killing titles that matter. And then the ground joins in, minds set to punish the next three instincts: veer, stop, reverse.
Directional minds don't hunt with perfect aim. They wait for human instincts.
After airbursts break order, crews revert to reflex. Engineers plan for that. TM-62s sit where wheels and tracks drift when drivers edge toward cover. PTK M1Rs lurk in the quiet patches where a halt feels safe and a reverse seems smart. The trap rewards haste and fear alike.
ABMP backs to clear the lane and rolls into a pressure strip. The plate flexes, the charge snaps, and the track peels away. Up front, a T-72B3 noses right to skirt a dead BMP-3 and crosses a channel that forces the left track onto a TM-62. The hit doesn't brew it up. It freezes it, angled and blocking. In the open, a Kamaz fueler hesitates between smoke and tree line, idling long enough for the top attack mine to finish its math.
PTKM-1R listens before it kills. It cues on acoustic and seismic signatures to classify what's nearby. Engine note, mass, movement. When the pattern matches a vehicle, it lofts a submunition that turns and fires down through the thin roof. TM-62s do blunt work. Placed to shape behavior, they cut tracks, shred road wheels, and leave hulls stranded where they clog the route best.
FPV teams launch on cue from recon feeds. Azov pilots thread into the center mass first. The BRM-1K gets the opening strike to collapse command and sensing. The next drone takes the ammo trailer. A third punches gun control on a BMP still moving. The order matters. Killing C2 early multiplies confusion. Lose the fire control net and route orders, and every stalled vehicle becomes a question number. One answer. Then the blast chain ignites. The ammunition truck goes up, throwing a fire column nearly 10 meters high and a backward shockwave. The blast blinds and disorients nearby vehicles, including a second Ural and an MTLB, choking any organized escape. Under drone loiter, the recovery MTLB sits long enough to be abandoned. By minute 6, 9 vehicles are confirmed destroyed, and 4 sit immobilized. Crews bail. Some run for the ditch. Others huddle behind stalled armor, waiting for orders that never come. At 6:40, the column is combat ineffective. The supply artery is cut, in steel and in morale. Post-strike ISR swings to counting wrecks, tracking heat fading, and plotting how this gap bends logistics. How do 7 minutes erase 48 hours of artillery firepower? Start with what the drones see after the last blast. ISR birds roll back in. Thermal plumes shrink from white-hot to dull gray. Crews mark each wreck by grid,
confirm which hulls still carry heat, and flag any movement around them. Recovery teams listen to that feed and pass. Too risky in daylight. The corridor stays dirty until night. And even then, the risk call leans no.
Then the logistics picture snaps. The Dorelia resupply route is severed. Shakov-Mikilski stops receiving. Batteries on that axis split their convoys, add clearance teams they didn't plan to spare, and lose hours to checks and detours. Wheels that should move shells now move sappers and tape. Tempo falls because every kilometer needs proof it won't bite back. The numbers tell the cost. Open source estimates suggest more than 12 tons of 122mm shells lost, equal to roughly 3 days of sector-level support when guns fire at sustained rates. Fuel bowsers and repair modules are missing from the roll call. Units that counted on quick-track swaps and hose patches are left to cannibalize or wait. Reports inside the next 48 hours matched the map. Analysts observed roughly a 1/3 drop in artillery fires. Open-source channels watched the fire tempo slow. Fewer salvos per hour, longer breaks between missions, and unclaimed strikes that would have landed before. The loss isn't just steel. It's rhythm. Russia adapts, but the fix cuts both ways. Routes bend off main roads into smaller packets. More trips, more exposure, less mass in any one place. Escorts spread thin. Each packet needs its own scout, its own jammer, its own chance to fail. What was a river becomes a chain of puddles, easy to step around or stomp on. The cameras keep working. Brigade channels release tight clips with timestamps, ranges, and clean hits. The point isn't theater. It's a signal. Reach, timing, and persistence. Mechanized silence is a myth when sensors watch from altitude and from tree line. No air superiority, yet the effects are decisive. Data sets the hour. Timing sets the order. Layered fires beat armor by forcing choices and punishing them fast. The corridor isn't only blocked, it's reputationally mined. The lesson isn't about bigger guns, it's about shorter kill chains. Timing beats tonnage. When sensors, mines, rockets, and FPVs move on the same clock, armored mass becomes stranded weight. A kill chain shortens. Decisions arrive faster than reactions, and protection turns into targets that can't leave the road. So the question remains, if 7 minutes can drop artillery output by 1/3, what does a week of synchronized interdiction do to a campaign? Where does tempo break first? Ammo, fuel, or command?